I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I'd ever write a book on the topic of training elders for the church. I mean, over the years, many other thoughts have crossed my mind as topics worthy of a book, and I thought maybe I'd write those someday. But this one kind of caught me by surprise. I mean, looking back at the circumstances in which this handbook was born, it makes sense that I would do it. I mean, it happened pretty naturally in the course of a life of ministry. It turned out to be something I needed, and the Lord provided me the means to pull it together as a gift of His grace. Since 1989, I've been blessed to be a leader in one form or another in a handful of congregations all around the United States. In that time, my experiences and roles have been many, and my love for the church has grown with each new challenge. And in the midst of all that, I've become more and more convinced of the vital need for well-trained, competent men of integrity, men of godly character, who lead the Church of Jesus Christ by example more than by virtue of their position. In my experiences as a pastor, I've come into a few situations where I kind of inherited an elder team that was already in place, and that's pretty typical. And I've stepped into other situations where I had the privilege to identify potential elders and oversee their training from scratch. And as you probably know, that's not an easy process. I mean, by that time, I understood the need for qualified leadership in the church, but I was a bit hesitant to take on the kind of equipping project that I knew was needed in order to do it right. Maybe it's my own insecurities or some perceived lack of experience that I had, or it could have been just nothing more than fear of man. But whatever the reason, I finally got beyond all of that and dove in. And you can be sure I've made plenty of mistakes in those early attempts, and a few of them still grieve my spirit to this day. So I immersed myself in study, and I began writing my own outline, which developed into a training curriculum, which resulted in the Elder Training Handbook. I mean, the handbook is born out of my own questions, my own study, my own frustration, and the learning that flows out of that kind of a mess. I mean, it's an outgrowth of mistakes, lessons learned, and the steady hope that training men to serve as elders is possible to do, and that it can be done well. My prayer is that any church, any leadership team, or a pastor who uses this handbook will be served well by it, that they'll be helped to locate and train the men that the Lord Jesus is desiring to raise into the role of leadership in their church at this particular point in time. I mean, I believe that the church, as the bride of Jesus, deserves the best leadership we can provide. And I'm trusting that the Spirit of God will use the handbook to help pastors and elders locate those leaders and equip them faithfully to carry out His calling to shepherd His bride.